Okay, good afternoon. We are recording, right? Yes. This is the Conservation Commission regular meeting for Thursday, January 9th. We're here at Town Hall in the boardroom. We'll start the meeting starting at 12 o'clock with roll call. Ann Silvio? Here. Okay, sorry.
John Cusack here.
John Cusack, Susan Switzer. Here. Robin Bates Mason here. I just want to say a quick note about Linda Andros, commission member for a long time. She passed away at her home on December 12th. Besides her work on the Conservation Commission, Linda gave a lot to the town of New Canaan. She did many years as the board chair of New Canaan Nature Center, St. Mark's Church. She was very involved, and with other activities within town. I'm personally forever grateful to Linda for helping Planet New Canaan. As Katie knows, she helped us receive our financial sponsorship from the Nature Center, which was instrumental in the formation of Planet New Canaan. Funeral services for Linda will be held at St. Mark's Church at 11 a.m. on January 18th with a reception to follow at Memorial Hall. So if anyone's interested, January 18th. For Linda's funeral service. Do we have any public comment? No, I don't think there's anyone online. The regular meeting minutes of December 12th will be postponed to the next meeting. So we will approve those at the next meeting as well as these minutes. Next on the agenda, the Bristow update, go to Tiger Man, and the thing I saw was the parking.
Right. So yeah. So we installed the handicap parking sign. So that first space, as you pull in off as you're heading, what would be westbound on 106, turn right into the parking lot. That first space is the accessible space. So we put up a sign. I think it's on a wooden post with a wood back, so you can just see the the disabled placard. So now it's fully accessible, I guess you would say. So
yeah,
or welcoming.
And I don't know if anyone else, but I walked through Bristow, everything looked fine. Last night, Parks and Rec did approve the sign for the Mead Park that Sarah Herring from New Canaan Land Trust brought last meeting. They've approved it. So Sarah's currently working, I know with you, Tiger, I know there's emails, and she's working with Signs of Success.
Right. Signs of Success is our vendor.
Right.
So that we use for all of our park signage. So Ryan Restivo was able to get a quote from Signs of Success based upon the specifications that Susan had as to the size for the land trust sign and what have you. And they're working through that right now. So okay. So it should get to be ordered shortly, and then we'll install it once it's received.
Okay, and then we discussed at the last Conservation Commission meeting is once those go up, the bluish aqua signs would come down. So let's say, any questions on Bristow?
We have recycled a lot of signage at that park.
Yeah,
I think the aqua ones are about the third iteration of signage.
So okay, so now we have Katie Owsley here from Planet New Canaan. She's going to present on the redeemable can program.
Yeah, so we are still in the process trying to finalize sort of what shed or / container we'd like to go down by the book bins and by the swap shop. The ones that we've looked at are about 8 feet wide, and this space there is 5 feet wide, Tiger. So we'll have to go back and see if that's like a, like shipping containers width, the smallest width is 8 feet, and
right.
And really the book bins come out to 5 feet. So we've been trying to find something that's in the 5 foot width. I don't know if 8 feet would be doable, or is that coming out too far? You think 8 feet would work? Okay, so with that gives us a lot more optionality. So we have to have something that's like 8 feet by 10 feet or 12 feet. So we have to be able to store about 30 bags worth of redeemables. And iRecycle will come to the transfer station. They can coordinate with Don and they can come pick up. We would just call them when we're around 30 bags. They would come pick up. They would cut a check, and our proposal is that the youth board and the Planet New Canaan board decide different local organizations that iRecycle cut that check to in different months. So could be the choir at the high school, it could be the land trust, it could be whatever. It could be projects for New Canaan, if South Avenue trees, it could go towards that. So that's where we are. We have the money set aside and we just need to finalize the option for the appropriate shed or container. So
Do you have any idea, just generally speaking, let's say that your program is working at capacity, what would be actually the potential revenue on a regular basis?
Well, so 2 years ago, or when Robin and I went to visit the Weston transfer station, where they have a program that does this, they were at that point, and this was prior to the bump in redeemables from 5 to 10 cents. They were collecting about $12,000 a year in redeemables. So obviously equivalent to 24,000 now. So there's a capacity to really monetize this. It seems like a very low cost way to capture revenues and to keep those redeemables in the food grade recycling stream, which is much more highly recycled.
Thank you.
So it's hard to see, from our perspective, it's hard to see a downside to doing it.
When you say bags, how does the physical layout of that work?
So
A bag gets filled
Yeah.
and then,
So we will have toters there that will come out, and it will be open when the swap shop is open. And they'll be lined with a bag that iRecycle provides to us. We
Right.
actually purchase it for 5 cents, but so they have their own bags, and it's a clear plastic bag. It has a line on it. So when you get to the line, it's filled, close it, and you store it inside and start the filling on another one.
I say,
Mhm.
and the idea is it would be open only during the hours that the swap shop is open?
I think the idea is to start it very, very small. We don't want to start it big and have people dumping their couches in it because they've all of a sudden decided those were the same as redeemable cans, which happens a lot down at the swap shop. So I think the idea is if we start very, very small, we start with the Planet New Canaan board and they know they can drop their redeemables, and the swap shop volunteers and they understand. So I think we'd like to roll it out very slowly with a lot of education for people.
Yeah, so people don't bring their pickle cans, glass jars.
Right,
Like there'll be
right,
no
right.
glass because it's just too hard to deal with.
But it's not like what you see at the supermarket where you stick your can in and. it
No,
comes
no,
out
it's
of
the
it.
same
Not
sort of program, but it's
Yeah,
not that,
it's
it's
not that
literally
mechanical, yeah.
a bag.
A bag.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So-
So policing it is a little more.
Policing it will
tricky, Yeah.
for surely be our biggest challenge,
Right.
yes. We look forward to all manner of
Right.
things that we might find.
Is it a problem that, because I think most people, when they're recycling, I think most people take their bag and it's got cans, bottles, and whatever. There's some places that do take everything. But if you're not taking glass, what's going to happen to those glass bottles? They
It
just
can
go
go-
in the garbage.
It can go up the hill to the recycling at the transfer station. So this will be just for redeemables. There's still the universal recycling up at the top where you drop things now. So anything that's not redeemable still goes in those recycling bins.
So it can go in, rather than actually though get returned, it will then go into the recycling.
To the general recycling stream, exactly. So,
And the book bins would get moved back. So the
book
swap
bins will
shop
move
people
back.
have to move the tables of all
right, and
the
we can move that
jars and stuff.
whenever that's ready. And we have Lars Anderson and Tom Herman, who are sort of our point people for managing the physical, the sort of physical development of the shed and how the shelving inside of it and how it's going to work. I don't know what you think. I don't think they need any, I think it's level enough the ground that it probably doesn't need any.
Right, but if it is, we'll make an adjustment, but I think we're proposing, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So it just sounds like that 8 feet is okay, just need to write the check, buy
Yep.
it and work with
Yeah, we'll get it installed.
Dawn and, okay.
Is there, Tiger, a timeline for you that does or doesn't work? Like absolutely not in January, or absolutely not in February? What is?
No, it doesn't. Obviously just be no storm day,
Right.
delivery of salt day kind of deal, but we can still work around that, because if we're trying to put it in, it's our men working while we're trying to deliver
Okay.
salt, and we can do it. So I don't think there's no bad day.
Okay, great.
Okay, any questions? No?
Great.
Okay, Tiger, I don't know if you're up on this, but just the food scrap program update, because curbside was sold. Do you know about?
Well, yeah, they went restructured in essence to a new company. It's basically the same people.
Oh, so it's still Nick.
It's
Okay.
just now called Natural Upcycling LLC. So it's in essence the same people, but they're now a new DBA. A little bit of a different methodology as far as pickup and things of that nature, but nothing's changed. Our pricing hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. The only thing
Pickup days change.
yes, yeah. Well, we're trying to make it. And then we had a problem with a little bit of pickups that, a couple of times driver was sick, what have you.
Yeah.
So people were having an issue with, no bins to dump on. But other than that, the only thing we saw was, just to give you an idea, we're at, for fiscal year 24, we were at 28.12 tons, and then when we started the program back in 21, we were 25.84. So we're already 2.5 tons or 2.4 tons above what we were at. So we're seeing at least that we're consistent, but we're growing.
Mhm.
So, which I think is a good thing. If we want to look to move the location to try to get bigger bins to then make it a little bit more palatable for people, we can certainly do that. Move the location off the platform.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be, if you guys want to see that, we can certainly look to do that. That's an idea.
I think that's.
Where would
The only other location we have would be closer down to the swap shop, in that area.
Where
Yeah.
possible composter could go.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
But
If we weren't gonna go that route, you want to go this route, we could do that, And then we could accommodate a bigger bin. Right now, we can't accommodate a larger toter because
This,
we don't
yeah,
have enough distance on the spit of land, that little spit of concrete. We don't have enough room to fit it.
Right.
So we take them out of there, we can get a bigger one. We can get a bigger one, we get more capacity, and we have less turnover and probably more where, people aren't going to open it up and say, oh, it's full. It really won't change. It's not going to change our work at all. It's just really, if you want to try that, we can certainly try it.
Does it change the pricing at all?
No, don't change the pricing. It's virtually the same for the larger toter.
but you'd be able to get more toters.
We'd be able to get more toters in that area, absolutely. And with the larger capacity, you would have the, capability of getting even more, more available space, so to speak, to recycle. So we could look to do that if we weren't, where we were looking for the larger composter. If you wanted to try this, we could then put it down there and see. We'd just be asking people to come down there. We're asking people now to do the redeemables. So you
Right.
could then, you have 2 reasons to go to that, or 3, the swap shop, but
Right.
so they have several reasons to go to that area.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, it's the same people who would be hopefully,
Right.
logically,
Yeah. Right.
right? Redeeming their
Doing
cans, who would
cans
also do their.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not just going to take the trip for just one
Yeah.
thing. Now you're taking it for multiple.
Yeah.
It's just another space at the station where there's places to recycle, right? So,
Right.
so that might alleviate some of the problems that we're having. If you want to chase that down.
And you just put a sign up in the old spot, it's now
Yeah,
over
it's
here. So you're not really going to
relocate it and
lose.
give it a little bit of a bigger sign
Not
where it
gonna
is,
lose
where it would
people.
be that, hey, here it is. Probably even give us an opportunity to make the signage about what's available, what can be recycled or composted larger, because right now we're kind of limited
Right,
by the post size,
yeah,
so we have to size that down, which makes it a little bit harder to read. So if we wanted to, if we move it, we can make a bigger sign. You could almost do like a 4x8 sheet of plywood kind of thing, where now this is what you can recycle or compost. So there's some definite benefits to moving.
it would be in a shed.
You don't
We would
think
have to-
maybe there's
we-
such limited parking down there?
That's the only thing, when I said that's, but the parking becomes an issue for swap shop visitors, right? We'd be losing maybe a space or so, since we're kind of on an angle parking, a space or two, maybe for that. We could look to then try to come up the road a little bit further, and maybe at the end of that, the tail end of that queue, add a space, so the net would be a -1 or a 0. We could certainly look to do that.
The other thing is those people at the swap shop tend to spend a little time there. Whereas if you're just dropping off this and that, you don't. I mean, you stop, you
Right.
drop and you go. So I don't know whether there's a conflict there.
I don't know, I was imagining that people wouldn't necessarily drive from the station over, you would just walk down and
Nobody walks anywhere over
I
there.
know, unfortunately, I would walk, I would park and I would walk, but I'm an anomaly, I guess. So yeah, you're right, they might park, but then again, it's still it's a 30-second drop. So it's not, I don't know if it's gonna really affect a swap shop visitor, because it's a 30-second drop waiting for a space to clear for that person to leave, right? So, yeah, maybe not 30 seconds, but 2 minutes to drop your recycling at that point, or the composting at that
I
point.
would agree about this recycling and, and certain books and stuff. But the people who are actually in the swap shop and mucking around, they're there for a while.
Yes, they are.
So they do get, it's 20 minutes and our volunteers too, if someone's there for a while,
Shoot them.
they say your car can only be here for 20 minutes.
You
Cause that's a little
could- Right, okay.
easier.
But
And
then if I were coming to drop off recycling and I went down there and there's no parking space, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to leave.
Right.
I don't have a sense for how many people are turned away because it's kind of full or almost full. But I do think it's kind of an opportunity to it's a bigger splash, right? Well, here's your bigger composting area. Here's your redeemable recycling together. It's kind of like,
one-stop shopping.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like it'll get more attention.
I
potentially.
reckon,
You may induce some supply.
yeah, I reckon that people would drop off their food scraps and then go over to the swap shop and then,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, they'll be shopping.
yeah. And there might be encourage some people who go to the swap shop, I don't know,
Yeah.
to be like, you know what, I'll start doing my food
No, I
scraps
agree.
because
I agree.
I'm gonna go drop off my old coffee maker or something.
I do think the parking is the one with the head scratcher. And I also think, other towns, Tiger, I'm sure he knows that they have the two toters out and then they put them away. And obviously we get charged. And curbside charges us the same on a half full toter, emptying that as they do. So if we could, I don't know if it's worth testing out, having two big ones sort of on a right angle, right under the sign, right?
Mhm.
Two big ones that get filled, and when they're fully filled, wheeling them away and putting two more big ones up, because right now if they're 8 out and they're only half filled, we get charged for dumping 8 when we in reality only have 4 filled toters. I mean, it seems like they're always filled and like every week,
Right.
so I don't know that we're running into that issue, but just from the way that their program is structured, it makes more sense to,
Well, to have them full, yeah.
Yeah.
The problem we also have is we're receiving complaints that when they open it and it's close to being full, nobody wants to have the slop.
right,
So they go to the next one. So we get that complaint as well, and then they look, say, oh, well, there isn't one available. Well, there is space, but
Right.
no one wants to top it off.
right.
Everyone wants to be the first one, not the last one. The,
And I think from a user's perspective, there's a price to that, right? Like someone who's like new to this, they kind of get turned away and then they're like, it's not worth it. You have to have a little bit of a commitment, and not everyone has a little bit of a commitment.
Yeah, well, I think it's grosser to have the sort of 8 along the side. And originally Curbside said that they would clean them out, which they've never done.
that was part of they were supposed to be spray cleaned out
Right.
each time.
But having more capacity, could induce some demand
Yeah,
of, supply. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll reach out to Tiger, or
Yeah.
Planning King will reach out to Tiger.
reach out to Tiger.
Yeah.
Tiger
Um,
loves it when I reach out to him.
Absolutely.
okay, any other questions about the food scrap program?
Has there been any discussion of residential pickup?
No,
some cities have that.
Yes, they do. I've been reading a lot about other cities and other municipalities that are doing it. We just, since we don't have residential pickup throughout town, you know, like the service itself, we haven't really looked at it only because logistically got a little bit, how do we bring that forward, right? Because you've got multiple haulers for multiple people. Some people come to the station alone, don't have a hauler. So at that point in time, we said, well, we'll just, you know, it wasn't an area that we started to look at. But I've been reading about other municipalities doing it, you know, and wondering if we could pull it off here. I just don't know, because we are fractured in how we receive our garbage in our recycling. So I thought the composting would be a similar problem. And, you know, I think it would be much easier if it was we picked up everyone's garbage and everyone's recycling, then we'd say composting. Much easier to add it than it is to just add this one aspect. And then, you know, and the majority of people who want it picked up are already calling curbside or upcycle, you know, themselves directly and having them come to their house. So they're not even coming to the station. They're just having them go to their house. So that's where we're at present. We are, you know, reading about it and looking at it, but I don't know how I would actually implement it,
Okay.
to be quite honest.
I think a
On my
big
wish
problem is
list.
the
Yeah.
cost issue, right? Like right now, the way that garbage and recycling pickup works with private haulers, there's no incentive for a homeowner or for the town to add organic pickup, right? So like, it would be great if we figured a way to work with the haulers and be like, we're taking half the weight out of the garbage. You need to take half the price off of the pickup, but it doesn't
Yeah.
work like that. So
Or work with the haulers to add that program.
I
Our
believe
hauler
one of them
doesn't have it.
has been, isn't that?
That I don't know.
I think maybe City
Think so.
Carding is working on that.
Which one?
Was it City Carding?
City.
I gotta look. It might not have been.
What is city now? They don't exist
Yeah,
anymore, right?
I still want to.
They're out of New Hampshire now, right? The
Yeah, they got
Portsmouth.
One of the haulers was working
With-
with Ridgefield to have like an organics pickup. I'll look and see if I can figure, I'll reach out to Tiffany from Ridgefield and ask who that is.
Right. Any other questions on the food scrap program? Next on the agenda is the transfer station brochures, which I didn't bring with me. They were printed out last year by Plant New Canaan in the town. My question for you, Tiger, is that has information that has the map of the transfer station where you can take your recyclables, some information on it. I guess the issue why they didn't go with the permits last year is there was concern that people wouldn't find the sticker.
Right, Don was concerned that if we put the brochure in with the sticker,
Mhm.
they would see the brochure, not see the sticker. It winds up in the garbage, and then they say, I never got my sticker, and then we have to send them another one, not really knowing if the one wound up in the garbage or didn't wind up in the garbage. That's why we were looking at putting it into the tax bill. The only problem with the July tax bill is that if you have a mortgage, you don't receive it.
Yes.
So, because it goes to your mortgage company, right? So it goes to the holder. Talking to Roseanne, when we did it in the past, we did it in the January one, because that predominantly was motor vehicle, predominantly went to the resident itself. Granted, a smaller scale, but still seemed to be a bigger bang. You know, for more people read it than the other one.
Right.
I mean, we can certainly try it where we put it in with the sticker and call it a day, you know, and
Is there-
maybe I put something on the outside that says sticker enclosed, so people
Yeah.
know if I get a stamp on the outside of the envelope that says sticker enclosed, so people know that, hey, this is your sticker and your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
information.
only goes to users of the station, which is, I mean, that's fine because it's users of the station. It's not everybody at that point.
What's that number, users of the station?
I was wondering even if a brochure had I could find one that had a little, something that came out that you could put the sticker in.
Oh,
Like a little-
tag, yeah.
Because it's for the cost of the mailing to just have a permit. Because the brochure came about because Darien reached out to me and said, well, can we see the information that you put in with your stickers? And I was like, Darien's doing something.
What are they doing?
I forget now. It's Carolyn Bain of the recycling committee over there. But they wanted to know what we were sending as information out. It just seems like a waste of money with only like a little sticker, a little permit going in with, when you can put up to 4 pages.
Mhm.
So there's, in my opinion, there's synergy sending it with the sticker, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm thinking about the transfer station. I'm gonna look at this as, you're not bifurcated in your tax bill and your transfer station thinking, right? But you raised the point, what gets most widely distributed? Is it to the actual residents? Is it something that requires a mortgage on your property? Or a car that's in your name, I suppose, as opposed to like a leased vehicle? I don't know that for a fact, versus the number of people who have, the percentage of the town that has stickers. I don't know what would be the highest percentage of those three.
I mean, personally, I would just send it with the transfer station
We
sticker
can try and I'll
because,
just put a little stamp on it, call it a day. I mean, to your point, it's really, you're paying for the postage pays for a certain amount of weight anyways.
Yeah.
So to add that piece of paper in, it's not going to cost us more in postage. So
right, and the
it's-
town's not paying for the brochure, so,
that's fine. I mean, what we can also look at too is possibly putting it into the newsletter and then having it as a QR code on the newsletter and then, or a link, and then people call up the link and when they get our monthly newsletter, if it's an item,
Mhm.
then calling it up, we can see if we can have an item in the newsletter, and then said the link, they just call up the link on their phone and then they have it on their phone. The brochure itself is on their phone, and that, to John's point, probably I don't know how many people, but maybe that might even be the majority of people.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't know how many are signed up for the newsletter at present.
actually, I think I'd love to do
Both,
both.
yeah,
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 I'd love to
absolutely.
do that, get on the newsletter for right before permits are
Yeah.
sold. And then we'll work on putting it,
In the
On-
permit distribution.
yeah, online. And then also, and I'll look for a brochure that has like a little thing that comes out that you can just stick it. Is that going to be too much work though? Just sticking it into the brochure?
I think stamping the outside of the envelope is really the answer, because if I were to get something like this and I'd just throw it away. I would never open it.
Right, yeah. Well, that's, to be quite honest, I've had that before. We used to send letters to the residents when we were paving, and then not majority, but many said, well, you know where that went.
Yeah,
I said, well, I sent you a letter saying we were coming, and they said, well, you know where that went. So they didn't even pay attention
No,
to it at the
and
time.
I just think that
So-
that you're going through all this shit that you get and you just pitch it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you stamped it saying your sticker's inside, that
Yeah.
would be different.
Yeah.
Right. So we can do that. I can just get a stamp and put a sticker inside,
Yeah.
sticker enclosed, put it on it. Doesn't even have to be attached.
It doesn't.
No.
And then just
Yeah.
put it in it. They're looking for their sticker. And oh, by the way, now here's your brochure on what
Yeah.
this transfer station is all about.
Right.
So I think that might be the way to
That might be
go.
sticker and brochure enclosed or your,
Yeah,
yeah, because they're just handwritten, aren't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much, Donnie does them at night.
And the brochure is basically to communicate what you can do with the transfer station.
Yeah,
Information.
sorry, I don't know if you still have any downstairs, but I had a copy with me and I didn't, I meant to bring it. It has information on the hours, the holidays, the phone numbers, has information about animal control, everything that's at where to take your brush, where to take your construction, has a map so people know where to drive.
Hazardous liquids, even, I think it has those dates on it, the hazardous liquid.
Yeah, the hazard, it has a QR code actually for all the, all
Yeah,
the-
because there'd be too many. to
yeah.
put in.
Right.
But no, it had a lot of information on it. It was very comprehensive.
Has a green QR code for a tour with
I
Tiger.
think it should definitely have, because I've seen this as a problem myself. We, at recycling, we accept, 1 through 8 or something. I think that's what the guy told me, it's 1 through
Right.
8. And I think that's where a lot of confusion comes, but everybody know 1 through 8 goes in the recycling bag.
So there was something on it for Connecticut, recycleCT.com about what gets in and what doesn't. So it's in there to go
I
to
never
their
Go there.
recycleCT.com.
No.
But the problem is that it's not just 1 through 8, because 5 isn't taken, and black plastic, which is a number 5 or 6, isn't taken. So it's just, recycling is just
A
too
lot of those
confusing.
are marked.
Hmm.
No, the black plastic is marked as what, it's 5,
They're marked. There's a mark on the bottom.
but they're still
That's
not
right.
accepted.
No, they're not accepted.
Yeah, so that's the problem. Okay, so if, I mean,
Yeah.
if the town's okay for paying for envelopes that say your stickers inside,
Well, I'm just gonna get a stamp, have them stamp it.
Yeah.
You know, I
Okay.
don't have to pay for anything extra or a sticker and have them stick it on the outside, call it a day. If I get a stamp, you can reuse it over and over and over again, just a little stamp pad. It
okay.
doesn't cost much for that.
So the brochure though would have to wait until, I think the hazardous waste dates come up from our area and like, the first one's April, so I think they put them out in March. So I think Planet New Canaan would update the brochure and then bring it to you and then bring it to the
That's fine.
Conservation Commission.
And we wouldn't be ready to, kind of start sending out till June anyways.
Right, with the
Right.
sticker being July now.
We could help you stamp and do whatever stuff, whatever needing, whatever you guys need, we can help with.
No, thank you.
We can have a wine night. Okay, excellent. Okay, any questions for the
Quick
question?
question about that. So sending out the brochures with the stickers means, the people who are getting the stickers are the ones who want to use the transfer station and or maybe are already using it. Wouldn't we want the brochures to also reach people who?
So is the
That's-
newsletter.
That's why I was looking at the
Okay.
newsletter.
And we
Yeah.
do, and they
Say,
do go around, like Tiger has them in his office, they have them at the library.
Oh, do
Walter
they?
Stewart's actually has them at customer service, a few other places, so.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah.
How do we reach the people? It's a lot of new people to town,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
lots. The first thing they do is they call the carder, right? And they get the carder and they're not availing themselves of
The guidebook to the newcomers club might be a way as well. So I always thought about that was, because there's a guide to the
Mhm.
newcomers, so there might be to put the transfer station, that brochure, the most recent one, and that package that they provide to any new homeowner,
Yeah.
new resident, that might be the way to go too. That starts at the grassroots, right at the bottom, right as you come into town.
Is that what did Stephanie Radman used to do,
That she was the
She's the,
newcomers.
she's the greeter.
I don't
the
think
greeter
she
of the
does
town?
that
No, she
anymore.
doesn't, but
Newcomer's somebody
sold it
else
to
now.
Richfield
Newcomers, somebody else now.
Yeah,
But somebody.
Town Greeter.
she's the town greeter, but they're the newcomers club. I forget,
Yeah, they
We-
do.
worked with them before.
We can find it.
Yeah.
We can find out, but I thought that would be a good route.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, yeah, no, that's a great idea. Okay, any other questions? No? All right.
You okay?
Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay. So I gotta get-
Thank you, Tiger.
Thanks, Tiger.
I will. Thanks, Tiger.
Yeah, you can stay. I don't know if you know. Next is just an open space update. I don't know if anyone's aware of the construction that's going on in Greenlee, but I know some people reached out to me about conservation easements and what I guess it was brought up at a meeting, maybe a New Canaanite meeting, where people are like, were there conservation easements that aren't being followed? So I just looked,
Sorry, what's Greenlee?
Greenlee Road,
Okay.
there's, I guess, subdivision going on right by the land trusts, Watson Simonton. Ooh, I can't
Oh,
say that.
okay, right.
Um, And I guess it was brought up by Chris Shipper at a New Canaanite meeting, and I got some emails about it. I don't know if anyone else did, that there's conservation easements there, they're not being followed. Not that they're not, sorry, being followed, that's what people were saying. So looked into it, and I think one of the things as the commission, because our role is open space, is to find out where, now, Land Trust has their conservation easements, which they own. They know where those are.
And do at least an annual inspection of them as well.
Yeah. The town, I learned from Sarah Casey, Sarah Carey. They don't have a list of their conservation easements. It's on the land records. Let's hold on. They're always, the information always gets placed on the land records, which ensures it ends up on property surveys when owners do work on their properties. So I did speak with via email Sarah, and she said they are aware of the easements and they have been checking this property, as well as I reached out to Rob Fryer, who's the president of Land Trust, and he said he's gone over to the area and he's using just his GPS watch, kind of walk when contractors weren't there, and he said he thought it was all legitimate and good. It is, the conservation easement hasn't been disturbed. However, as he said, it wasn't done by survey. He was just unscientific through his GPS watch. But I thought that was something for the Conservation Commission, is how do we go about knowing where these easements are
Exactly.
ahead of time, rather than, rather than just they're on the land use records.
Yeah, after something's been built, it's very difficult
Yeah.
to fight it.
Now, the town planner, they say when it's, something is being built, that they'll have this record and then they'll know where the easement is and they do check on it. But it's, I don't know, I just felt like maybe trying to figure out like something we should know about ahead of time, like, hey, we've got
No,
easements here.
I think the town should have a list.
Yeah,
Should have a list and should have a periodic check to make sure everything's in order, right? And maybe you can outsource some of that to the land trust in terms
you're
of,
right.
checking on it, since there's already an existing program there to do that. But
Yeah.
this is something that we as a commission should.
Yeah, and
you
like
know,
subdivisions,
embrace.
what they do is, one of the rules is they have to give, either they have to pay or they have to give a certain amount of land to be open space. Usually they're like in the cul-de-sac, that's that little like garden area right in the circle. Isn't that the
Yeah.
case? But it was just like, oh, we don't have this. I will say I reached out to town council member Christina Ross. She had a list of open space owned by the town that she brought up to town council one time. I thought it'd be nice for her to come next meeting to show us the work she's put together on that. It was from some time ago, but I mean, one of the things I was like, the land trust and town report from 2018, where it shows some of the town-owned properties. I was like, is that all of them? Because there was a small issue in town, very small minimal property. Town didn't realize they owned, but the builder knew that. But it's on Cherry Street. It was when they did eminent domain to create the street. It was such a minimal, tiny space. It wasn't worth anything.
Right.
But it was just
Yeah.
like, oh, if town didn't know about that, is there anything else possibly?
I think anytime there's a road improvement project, there's going to be slivers.
Mm,
It's very common. And a lot of these conservation easements are also really, really old.
yeah,
So I don't know, other than going through land records.
Yes.
You're not going to find them.
I
yeah.
agree with
Well,
that.
I mean, maybe they're digitized. I mean, it could be working with the people downstairs who really understand how to do these archival searches of, land records.
Yeah,
Well, I think once you get past a certain, and it's not very long back, I think in 1970 might be as far back as there would be actually records. Then they're just part of the land disposition agreements. When property is sold and or when there's a road improvement, a sidewalk installed, inevitably you get a little bit of private property.
Mhm.
It happens a lot. And I don't know whether you're interested, I mean, I guess those would be conservation easements, but they're completely worthless. I mean, what they should do is just sell them back to the owner. The adjacent property owner, but I don't think
But-
they bother. It's not worth the legal trouble.
So I think they're kind of separate things, right? The property the town owns that,
They're slivers.
there's slivers that aren't worthless. There's property that the town owns that is,
yeah, that's
very,
worthless.
very, very more valuable. But then there are all these conservation easements that came along with any subdivision, which frequently is,
Well, those are probably newer. I'm thinking of some of these property easements that go back into the, oh my God, 20s, 30s, 40s.
these conservation easements, or what type of easements?
Yeah, I think they were conservation easements. When the land trust first got started with the donations of properties to
The
them.
the land trust has
19.
like, I don't know the exact number, 30, 40 conservation easements.
Yeah, well, they know where
They know
theirs
where they
are.
are and
Yeah.
they
No,
look at them
these
every
would
year.
be these would be situations where maybe somebody's interested in divesting a wetlands. And so they've decided to give a conservation easement to the town so they don't pay taxes on it.
Mhm.
I mean. they
Well,
could-
that would be kind of what,
I
Right,
don't
and-
think the town has an ordinance on that. The state of Connecticut allows that. It's actually the Public Act 6-128, where you do get a tax abatement for conservation easement to a town or giving property to town that won't be built but I don't think New Canaan's passed that ordinance.
Well, then you have no idea.
Yeah, that's the problem. They passed the ordinance for tax abatement for property donated to a land trust or conservation group. But I don't believe, and that's something to bring up, and I'll reach out to Tom Butterworth or Hillary Ordman because they're on the town council ordinance. But I didn't see that. I was looking for that and I didn't see it. But that's something to look into. But that might be something to reach out to Land Trust. I know they do an internship program. And most of their interns are, doing, physical work, but there might be an opportunity for interns that want to do more research.
totally, or the summer,
Yeah.
the high school seniors projects.
Right,
to
rather than
graduate,
just-
and,
We had that group from Yale
We
who
can
did the
find-
open space, the
Mhm.
first open space mapping.
Yeah.
Turned up all kinds of little bits and pieces of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of all of this is that the things that are of interest are that like on Greenlay, where you
Right.
have a full acre of land, a half an acre on each of two parcels that borders other open space,
Space.
whether it does or doesn't, but
Right.
it's not a nothing piece of property, right? It's an
Right.
acre of land in totality that is now being developed, that is making sure that that
Yeah.
stays as intended as a conservation easement. And those were granted via the subdivision rules, which require if you subdivide over, I forget how many acres it is, 10 acres or 12 or 15 acres, that you have to set aside a percentage.
Percentage, right.
Yeah. And-
Or pay a fee though, right?
Or pay a fee, or give you, it can be a conservation easement to the town, it can be a conservation easement to a land trust or
Trust.
something, like a
Right.
nonprofit, or it can be paid as a fee.
Yeah.
And I think the default has been that it runs to the town. And I think that's gotten a bit lost. I think that's kind of,
Yeah.
the easy, because since the 70s or whenever this was first put in place, there's got to be a ton of these subdivisions that have conservation easements that no one is really looking after.
So I would propose, I'll do a little more work on this. December was not a good time to do work on
Yeah.
anything. And then bring in Christina Ross and just see what, and go over the 2018 Land Trust Conservation Commission open space, but and reach out to Land Trust. They have a meeting on Monday.
Yep.
Did you say Christine Roth?
Christina Ross, ROSS.
Okay.
I will, yeah.
And I believe she's emailed it to me, what the work she had done previously.
Although that sounded like, from your description, that was more town-owned land.
Yes, this is town-owned.
Yeah.
Because you have a situation with town-owned open space, like the Hoyt Swamp, it's town-owned, but I believe there's no easement to get to it.
Right.
So and right now, I know neighbors are constantly complaining it's just a dumping ground because people on 123 just like literally throw stuff into it all the time. And that I think was given to the town in the early 70s. I think it was.
Well,
And-
I would guess that it's particularly in some of these cases where they are wetlands and landlocked. There's no one going to give you a right to trespass and repass or whatever they call it, so you can actually go to this place.
Right.
Right. And
You-
I think that was the problem that was brought up one time was, should the town accept any land as open space where you don't have access? You can't get access to it through either, an easement or anything. That seems,
Some of the land trust properties have this issue.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in previous meetings where near us, there's a land trust hiking trail that my kids take to access other kids in the neighborhood just over the back, through our backyards. rather than go through Weed Street, which is really dangerous. There are no sidewalks and a lot of speeding. But there's no way to get it. You can see it, but there's no way to get to it. And so we've kind of worked out deals where moms let them sneak through yards, and we're asking for favors. And it should be, there's just a path that the town creates so that these two neighborhoods are linked through the land trust. I don't know if there's a way to do that.
Well, I trust, I mean, they did that with the Green Link.
Yeah.
That took a lot.
This is the Green Link.
Oh, you are talking about the Green Link. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, I can understand why people don't want people just randomly coming across
can
their
too.
front lawn.
I can too. You see a body run across your backyard, it could freak someone out. Yeah.
Right, and typically you figure, well, those are neighbors. I
Yeah.
mean, that usually, my assumption is they came from right here, although my property backs up to the nature center, so I've had some interesting. Oh, we didn't know this wasn't the nature center.
So I would say,
I mean, I'll.
reach
I'll
out to
follow-
Land Trust,
Well, I'll
see if
follow
they'd
up
be
with,
interested in something like this, and then we'll bring it up at the next meeting.
sure.
I can show you on the map where exactly I'm.
There's no land trust land that is inaccessible. I mean, the land trust hasn't accepted, I can tell you pretty factually that they haven't since 1967, haven't accepted.
Haven't what?
land. They haven't accepted any land that's landlocked. There's always an easement or a right of way or an actual sliver of land that connects it to public access. Now, whether it's open and enforced, is kind of, I think, by and large, well maintained, well understood. And there have been cases where people have seriously encroached on that access and had to be, then other remediation had to occur where someone would buy a parcel from their, they wanted to keep that land and then they bought a parcel from their neighbor and allowed access some other way. But there's no actual land trust land that I.
No, this is not landlocked. There's
Oh.
an entrance. It's on Weed Street. But Weed Street is like dangerous speeding area. So I'm talking about kids going to each
Finding
other's.
a different, well.
Fine
that's-
is, yeah,
It's the
forest.
nature of having land trust or public land that abuts private property, which the neighbor may or may not.
Well, it's
want
also the
people-
Sunset Hill people
Yeah,
can't access.
Right.
The Green Link without.
it'd be great if we could get an access way from somebody on Sunset Hill to that area but
It would open up the Green Link to tons of people on that side, on the other side of Sunset.
but I don't understand that issue. There's a nature or land trust piece of property, right?
Mhm.
That's accessible multiple ways,
Mhm.
but not the way it's easy for some people in the neighborhood, but that's kind of.
Well, it's more about safety.
Yeah, it's clearly a safety thing, but
Yeah.
like, what do you do about that? Like, if you're now asking private property owners to provide a right of way?
There's a pathway off of the Parade Hill dead end that cuts back through private properties, I think like 2 or 3, to the nature center. And it's actually maintained. I don't know who maintains it, but it's definitely not nature center property.
So some
But it's
people do this
there.
informally,
Yeah, yeah,
and we're doing it informally
yeah, which is
too.
great. And maybe that's an avenue is.
That's what it used to be.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
I think there'd be a lot of.
think I walked from
reluctance if
school
you said
through
you wanted to
various
go in
people's
and
yards,
create
never even thought
some
about
kind
it.
of a deed restriction and blah, blah. I think these people would say absolutely no way, because I need that square footage to do an addition or whatever it is. I need the property.
Mhm,
I mean, I'm happy to have you go back and forth, but I'm not putting this
mhm.
as a deed restriction.
All right, so for the next meeting, I'll bring this up. I'll see if Christina can come and then we'll discuss more. Is there an environmental coalition update? I know they've put in I don't think there's an update yet for this year. Is there?
There isn't a new one for this year, but as I shared at the last meeting, most of the discussion is around Earth Day plans and this theme of backyard biodiversity, or I just call it biodiversity. And the coordination of all these groups and their plans so that we're not double booking. events and that
Well,
events.
everybody also can do their own thing. They don't have to actually be part of a big group. They're just, this is my thing and here's the information.
Yeah, and how can we support each other to try to get crowds at each one of these things? So right now,
And it's more like Earth Day month, right? Rather than Earth Day. Yeah.
so right now, we don't have a role really in this, and maybe that's something we should talk about. How can we support these various groups in their Earth Day plans? Maybe it's getting the word out, maybe it's
Mhm.
creating a calendar that is sent out to residents or, I think this is definitely something we want to support, even if we don't put on an event of our own.
Right,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Would
Um,
the town council ever consider doing some kind of a proclamation?
Resolutions come from typically the Board of Selectmen, not from the town council. Ordinances come from the town council. So that could be something to reach out to the first selectman's office.
I think it would be
The res,
impactful, not necessarily hugely persuasive, but at least it would put us as a town out in front of this birthday initiative.
yeah, so you can do a proclamation or a resolution that doesn't, the Pollinator Pathway Project was a resolution. I think, like, I know the Board of Selectmen's done like a proclamation like for Beautification League. Today, December 12th, 2000, whatever, 18 was named Beautification League Day. I say that only because I remember that one.
Yeah, the town looks forward, something like the town looks forward to supporting the
Yeah.
Earth Day events,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
town and. Yeah.
Or, blah, blah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's perfectly good language for these things.
Right, so we can reach out to the Board of Selectmen
I
and
think
see if
that would
that's
be nice.
something for Earth Day. I'll reach out.
We should probably
That'd be
start
really-
now
that's a
because it
great
takes
idea.
them a while.
Yeah, no, reach out now. Okay, so next, the speaker program update, anything on that?
Yes,
Ann, or-
I've created a document which I'm going to share with everyone later today. And it's requires everyone's coordination, I think, and agreement on what issues are worth, scheduling in advance. And Robin, you may have your own sort of calendar of guests and topics you want to tackle each month. And so we would need your input and sign off on any plan. But basically, the thought is to create a schedule of topics. And at each meeting like this, we would, devote some portion of the meeting to an expert speaker. In public comment, it'd be great to invite both speakers and the public. And with the bigger topics, we might actually get a few people at our meetings. And if it is a big topic, invite a local reporter to cover the discussion. And that way, we can kind of work towards our goal of education. And then if it warrants, a bigger conversation, we can take that information about the topic and give it to the newsletter people and get a little blurb
Information out.
written up. Yeah. So, of course, we'd want to choose topics that are aligned with the POCD goals and with the town code around conservation. And a lot of rules are already in place and people just don't know about them, along with sort of, aspirational, topics. So I've just sort of created a calendar and it's open for, maybe we do tree planting or in February, because that's the time you would start putting those orders in and planting can start in the early spring. Maybe March is dark skies because that's when pollinators,
And the bird migration.
bird
Migration,
migration,
yeah.
maybe that's it. April, I have, backyard biodiversity because that's the theme of the month.
So I would just say, because the whole FOIA vision, you can share something, but then we can't have a discussion online about it. We'd have to have it here. So if you have an idea do you want to start this in February already, or do you want to wait until March?
Because we need to actually, so I can't create a document and have you all. It has to be
You
public
can
if you did that.
send something for us to look at, but we can't add to it or have a discussion about it when we're not at a meeting. It's considered it's not a public meeting. I know it's a pain, but it's, so I would say that if you sent us something, I think it'd be better if we start in March, because then we can bring it at the next meeting and say, hey, let's do this, 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 and we'll
Okay.
look at all the dates and go from there.
Also gives us a chance to think about what
Sure.
we might want to add to your list.
Sure,
Yeah.
that sounds fine. Do you all want to send me things you would like to see? Like, hey, I want a meeting about tree planting, which trees to plant? When do we start planting them? You know, like if you, or Robin, if there are things like related to the Planet New Canaan or,
Yeah.
you know,
I would say bring those up at the meeting, just because I want to follow the rules.
okay.
But yeah, just bring it at
We'll
the.
bring those next meeting, is that what
Yeah.
you're suggesting?
Yeah, so I would
Or-
say you can send out to us like, hey, this informational thing.
Yeah.
And then we can have that information for the next meeting.
Uh-huh.
And then we can say, okay,
If you
this
want,
is.
if we could throw out some ideas right now and then.
What
Yeah.
and
topics
then
would you
finish.
all like to see on this thing?
Tree
um,
planting would be great.
Yes, that's in there.
Tree planting would be good.
Water quality.
Water
Leave the leaves in the fall, like something about leaves and, you know, like how we,
For next late summer, early fall, but I think the dark skies and the bird migration.
bird migration. I
Would
need
be
to look at,
coming up.
there's a great bird migration map that shows which month Connecticut gets the most birds.
It's
Well-
also completely changing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are birds that don't migrate anymore.
That's a topic for the meeting. That's would
Mhm.
be a great thing to discuss.
So Lapham is going to have, they're having a program with Frank Gallo, the bird expert, is that the right thing?
Nature Center guy.
Yeah, Nature Center. He could possibly come to one of our meetings as well, because he can discuss that.
Frank Gallo.
Frank Gallo, Gallo.
He
Okay.
did a lot of the bird watching things at Bristow.
Yeah,
Great.
and he can do a owl impression like nobody else.
Okay.
Um,
I'd love to do one on the pollinator pathway. And sort of help people.
so
think
that
about-
would be Louise Washer. She's part of the Norwalk, help me out, Norwalk River Watershed Association. She's one of the founders of the entire pathway for the, she and I forget who the other person was. I think the other person was out of Ridgefield. They founded it. It was called the Housatonic something at first, but now it's Pollinator Pathway. So she would be good, someone good to come in.
Mhm.
She lives in Norwalk. So it's Louise Washer. And like that's something where I can send you her contact information,
Sure.
as long as we just don't have a meeting about, like about.
Right, yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
fine. And there are some that are gonna be more controversial, like, do we want to have a gas-powered leaf blower
Absolutely.
meeting? There was actually just one on Pine Street after the last snow. It was a very wet snow, but there was somebody out there with a gas-powered leaf blower, trying to blow the snow.
I think that was next to my office because I was watching, I was like, what are they doing?
Oh, you're watching that too? It
Yeah,
was so loud, the whole downtown was.
yeah, it was,
What
yeah,
a waste of money.
it
But
was
yeah, but
ridiculous.
definitely, that's a topic for sure.
Yeah.
Guess.
yeah.
Or-
So I would say for,
Yeah, the public might actually come for
Totally.
something like
Yeah.
that. If we invite, kind of get word out, hey,
Yeah.
this month we'll be talking about blank.
Mhm.
Come in and, and we might get some people on Zoom
right.
who want to speak up about a topic.
Okay, so, yeah, Frank Gallo, I know he's away for a couple weeks, he'll be back end of January, but he would be good for bird migration.
This is time off
It- When is his time off, sorry?
right now.
Oh, yeah, he's on.
August, there's no meeting, right? But July there is.
So,
Typically.
yeah, July, there's a meeting. I think okay, so we'll do one for March.
For March.
Yep.
And then at the February meeting, we'll
We'll,
sit down with the document and we'll hash it out and vote on it.
excellent,
Okay.
great.
But when you send us this,
Mhm.
why are we not allowed to send back our ideas? Not to everybody, just to her.
Okay, so with the FOIA rules is this, if you are within the same party, you can have discussions outside of meetings. But if you're in different parties, If you're unaffiliated, it just depends on who you caucus with. So that's the reason, because then it becomes, I know it's only about speakers, but because it can be seen as having an offline meeting that's not open to the public.
But we would be presenting that information to the public at the next meeting.
But if there were two of you, you could be doing this down at Le Pen. I mean, it wasn't be a meeting.
Yeah, it's just that, once again, it's because we are a commission as commission members, and as you're discussing something regarding that's on the commission, it is supposed to be in the public. It's not supposed to be, so.
Right, but FOIA requests
Mhm.
reveal those emails, that conversation. That's what from a
Right,
journalist's
but you're not supposed to,
perspective-
it's not supposed to get to that point where you're having private. There was a building committee, two people in the building committee, and their discussions, they were from different parties, and their discussions were FOIA'd. And, but they weren't supposed to be having those
Right.
discussions, even though that for them, they were like, we're just working on this thing.
Okay,
They did get in trouble. I think they had to go up to Hartford.
they had to go to Hartford.
Yeah, because you do get kind of like a discipline. I don't know what they do.
Reprimand.
Reprimand, yeah, thank you. So it's just, it's annoying, but it is the rules of municipal government and how you're supposed to engage in it. So I know it's annoying. I'm sorry. So, but yeah, so if you just send us a list, as long as we don't have a discussion offline about it, that's
Sure.
fine.
Is there anything you would like to see on this
I would like the bird migration.
bird migration? Yeah.
And Louise Washer, she's awesome for pollinator pathway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
She's
want to
fantastic.
see water quality on this? I know that was when Chris and Linda were here, that came up a lot. It was. A big
Yeah, because
issue.
the river testing. So that would be good. I think Land Trust might know of some people for that to come in.
Maybe I can check.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's one of the things for Land Trust is, yeah, open
Yeah.
land helps with the water quality. So yeah,
I think it would be nice though, if the focus of water quality, so to speak, was really on the impact of private property owner management on actually water quality. And particularly given the fact that most of these property owners are well owners. And they have this presumption that their well is theirs.
Hmm.
And they've missed the point about aquifers.
So, so this would be
Land management,
about chemical-free.
yeah, that, and it's not just that, it's, there are a lot of issues that are not manageable. I mean, for example, the manure left behind by wildlife are pollutants of your water. I mean, what are you gonna do? Tell the chipmunk he cannot poop in that stream? I mean, that's not happening. But you can manage the effects of that yourself. I mean, there are ways to do that. And also through water edge riparian planting, you can have filters, biofilters along your stream beds.
Would it be possible for us to bring laptops or iPads so that people could make real-time edits in the meeting? Like make it a working session?
I think that would be okay. Yeah, that would be fine. I think that would be okay.
That would be in the minutes, sure.
Yeah, because as long as it's reflected in the minutes, yeah, I think that's fine.
I would suggest noise pollution, quiet communities. I mean, the leaf blowers do some kind of different types of concerning issues, air pollution, noise pollution.
Quality of
yeah,
life.
Quality of life, on and on, but just kind of quiet, might be a lower priority type issue,
I
but I
think-
think noise pollution generally.
I think, like at the end of spring cleaning, like maybe May, June, the summer is really where, the landscape crews are out
Mhm.
every day all over New Canaan blowing the leaf blowers, and there are no
And
leaves on the ground.
even just the lawn mowers are,
The
quite
what?
loud. The lawn mowers are
Oh.
quite loud, right? The gas powered lawn mowers are quite loud. So it's not
Yeah.
just a leaf. The leaf blower issue, I think, is an issue in and of itself, which has a lot of components, but then I think that noise pollution
Right.
kind of overlaps.
Okay, so yeah, so that should be fine and we can edit it through while we're in a meeting.
Sounds good. And I'll send a reminder. I'll
Yeah.
have Lola include on the next one to,
Yeah.
someone to bring their
And then,
laptops.
and then we'll do the minutes, the December minutes and the January minutes at the February meeting.
Great.
Any other questions before we adjourn? No, so I would say we are adjourning at sorry, all in favor of, who wants to make the motion?
Motion to end the meeting.
John, I'll second it. Okay, so the meeting end at 1:04. Thank you so much, and I'm going to stop recording.